All right, this meeting will come to order. Good evening and welcome to the December board meeting. Our first order of business is to approve the amended agenda, which is displayed on the screen. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next order of business is to approve the minutes of the November 15th and the November 27th meetings that have been distributed. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, is there any discussion or any corrections to either of those minutes? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I'll now turn the meeting over to Dr. Mason to present our delegation.
One of our school board members, Mr. Dad, is parked on 459, evidently with several other Birmingham residents right now. So as soon as he gets here, we will ask Dr. Jenkins to make his presentation. But in the meantime, we're going to address some of the other agenda items so that Mr. Dent can be here for that announcement. So the next item on our agenda is a presentation from Rotary Club to some of our outstanding teachers, and this time I'd like to ask Mr. Ted Strong from the Rotary Club to come and make those presentations.
Hello.
Hello.
I stand over here. Is that the official?
That'd be
That'd
fine.
be good.
The news camera gets me. This is David Martin. He's the president of the Rotary Club. And a little bit of background. We every year we do Teacher of the Year awards for a teacher from each of the schools in Vestavia Hills, and we submit nomination forms to the principals, and they get nominations from the faculty. And we typically do this at one of our Friday meetings, which was snowed out last Friday, and I think I was the only one that was willing to go. So the Vestavia Hills Rotary Club, we used to meet upstairs here until they built some classrooms. Now we meet over at Southminster, but we're a Friday noon club, and we do a lot of things for the school. We love the school system. We love the teachers. We're just proud to call you guys teachers in our school system, because if it weren't for people like you, people like me, wouldn't be able to stand up here in a suit after having been in court all day. I probably would have been expelled, but my teachers were patient and loving and kind, and I went to Vestavia, so I'm now a contributing member of society. So it's thankful to you guys to do that. I usually do a long presentation. We did that last year, and I think it was a lot of fun, but I understand we don't have a lot of time, so we're gonna speed this along. But each of the nominees from each of the school, we'll call them up one at a time. We have a plaque and an honorarium here for them, and we'd like to give that to them early in December. It's a little extra Christmas cash. But is Katie Grace here? Katie is the 4th grade reading and language arts teacher at Cahaba Heights. And let me tell you, I'm not going to read all of the nomination material because it's a lot of materials, but I tried to highlight some of the important things. And what the nomination for Katie was that I thought was very significant is that, most importantly, she cares about the outcomes of her students and works to tap into their interests and ideas to take them further in their learning. And Katie, we sure appreciate you teaching our kids and
My kids literally.
and it's I know that's a task. I know that's if that kid comes into your classroom one day and says, hey, my dad told me he was worried about my grades, and if they don't get better, someone's going to give a spanking, don't worry, it's not you. Thank you, Katie. I tell a lot of jokes when I do these presentations, but all my people I make fun of aren't here today. They're all in the Rotary Club. Tyler Burgess asked me if I would tell some jokes, so I contacted some of his family members and got some good scoop on him. So I will tell y'all just a couple of stories about him as we go along. I think one of them happened when he was about, 2nd grade or so. He was coloring a picture of a frog holding an umbrella. And he colored the frog purple and the umbrella green, and the teacher said, said, Tyler, why did you do that? And she thought maybe he was colorblind. And he said, oh, no. I said, I wanted to color the frog purple. And she got mad and said, why would you do that? When's the last time you saw a purple frog? He said, the last time I saw one holding an umbrella. So, he was a smart aleck, but smart. So, our next nominee is Joanne Walsh, and she's a first grade teacher at East. Is Joanne here? Congratulations. And Joanne is what the nomination said about her. Joanne Walsh is truly a master teacher. She challenges her students every day while at the same time assisting strugglers with a huge dose of compassion and always a smile on her face. I have been especially impressed with how Joanne works with non-English speakers and their parents. Thank you. And our next nominee is Jan Brady from West, and I understand she's not here today, but Ms. Hauser is here to accept in her absence. And what the nomination said about Jan is, Jan has built a classroom that revolves around a love of learning and strong classroom community. Her positive attitude is contagious, and her students enjoy learning alongside her. She cares deeply for her students and works hard to ensure that every child receives exactly what they need to succeed. Our next nominee is Jenny Lou Grindle from Liberty Park. And if I mispronounce someone's name or say something that's not really your name, just forgive me. Okay, Jenny Lou, what the nomination says is Jenny Lou provides for all the students' needs, academic, emotional, and social. Her children make tremendous progress in closing the gap with their peers. Thank you for everything you do. I know Jenny Lou probably had both my niece and nephew out at Liberty Park, and they did wonderfully out there. Our next is Amy McDonald from Central. Congratulations. Here's what her peers said about Amy. She holds high expectations, establishes a classroom community, is a lifelong learner, is passionate and skilled in her profession. However, being a teacher is much more than what can be taught in a college classroom or in a workshop. It comes from the heart. Amy shines when she walks in a room. Her enthusiasm and warm, caring, and compassionate spirit touches each person with whom she comes in contact. Amy inspires us all, not only to be better teachers, but to be better people. Thank you. You know, I hate to do this to you, Tyler, but someone told me another story about you. And apparently one day he didn't take his books. You guys don't have textbooks anymore, do you? And my kids don't have them. We're always asking, where's your textbook? And apparently they don't get them anymore. But apparently one of Tyler's teachers asked him one day, she said, where's your textbook? He said, at home. He said, what's it doing at home? He said, it's having a better day than I am. All right. Our next is Miss Leah Singh.
She's on her way.
She's on her way.
She gets here in time.
Yes, we'll just move her, get her moved over there to the side. All right, well then let's move on to Liberty Park Middle School, Haley Boyd, 7th grade math. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, well we're going to read Haley. She's not coming at all then, right? And you're here to accept in her? Excellent. Haley Boyd is an out-of-the-box math teacher who comes up with creative, exciting lessons to engage her students. She cares about her students and wants to ensure that they understand math content. Her curriculum is always student-driven and relatable to students' lives. Thank you. And last but not least, I don't see Laura Booter here. Laura Booter, is she here? Nope. Do we have anybody here to accept on her behalf? The class clown. Oh. Can we trust you with this?
Absolutely.
Here's what the nomination about Ms. Booter says. Laura Booter is a teacher that freely gives of herself to both her students and colleagues. She is committed to promoting foreign languages and cultivating global citizens. She is a positive role model for students and teachers alike. Laura does all of these things because she values others above herself. She is truly an unsung hero. And I can tell you, a lot of these teachers my kids have had, and I can't disagree with anything I've read in these things. I know especially Frau Booter, my son had her, and I think he was devastated he had to finish the school year and move on to another class. I guess we just need to do Miss Sings, and
She's not gonna make it up to teaching the daycare, is she?
okay. Well, the last is Pizitz Middle School, Leah Singh, and Leah Singh for her nomination says, Leah Singh for her quiet excellence, generous spirit, creativity, positivity, and ability to motivate her band students towards excellence with gentleness and extreme patience. She is a jewel. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all of our awards.
Thank you
I
very
will give you
much.
something.
Yeah.
I want to thank you all for your support of our teachers and our school system. Rotary is an amazing organization. We've all heard the phrase, think globally, act locally, and Rotary thinks and acts globally and locally. I think Rotary's played a lead role in essentially eradicating polio around the entire planet, which is it's a pretty big task. And then you do things like this locally, and we just appreciate that very much. Thank you for being with us today. Okay, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
We'll go back now to the first item under delegations. And we have a, sorry to say visitor, but he's gotten to be pretty familiar around here over the last few weeks, Dr. Terry Jenkins, who's the search consultant for the board for the superintendent search.
Board members, first of all, let me just say a word of thank you to you for working with the Alabama Association of School Boards. We're just happy to assist you in your superintendent search. After tonight, we will pretty much pull back from everything. The worst thing that could happen is that people thought that we were trying to select your superintendent. We're bringing you people that are capable, and then you'll go through the process of interviewing and determining who you think's the best candidate, and then if you're not happy with any of them, we'll bring you some more. So let me just begin by giving you a little bit of background information. As I get through with the presentation, I have some things I need to pass out to you and go over with you before we conclude, please. In this particular search, I want to say on the front end, one of the things that was unique or different about this particular search, we usually don't involve in any of our process the interim superintendent. But having known Dr. Mason as many years as I have, he has been a truly an asset in working through this process and trying to help us come up with the best possible candidates for your community that we can. I would say to you on the front end, we had 32 candidates who initiated the process, application process to be considered for position of your superintendent. Of those candidates that we had, the candidates came from 15 different states. Alabama was 14, Arizona 1, Connecticut 1, Florida 2, Georgia 2, Illinois 1, Indiana 1, Kentucky 2, Michigan 1, Mississippi 1, Missouri 1, North Carolina 2, Pennsylvania 1, Tennessee 1, and Washington State 1. So, of the applicants we had, 16 of your candidates had experience as superintendent. I regret to share with you that yesterday I received a phone call. Our committee had met and done all of our work, and we had the 5 finalists to bring to you today. We had one candidate who called me yesterday and has withdrawn. That candidate withdrew because on Monday night he received a call offering him the position of superintendent of another school district. At the time he made application here, he had already made application there, but he didn't know about this one at the time. So when they called and made the offer, he talked with his wife and yesterday made the decision to accept that position, and he called me. So based on my conversations with you and Dr. Mason in the past, instead of adding one of our other candidates in, we're bringing you 4 candidates instead of 5. Also, I need to share with you that the present base salaries that you have set or established, all these candidates will fit well within your parameters. The one candidate we lost was the one who was the outlier in that. So at this time, I bring to you the names of the 4 finalists for consideration. All of your finalists have served as educators in the past and the present. All 4 have experience as superintendent and are presently employed as superintendent in public school districts. These finalists are representative really of the data, the surveys, the interviews, community meetings, and with the staff and residents and elected officials in the data that we gathered. All of the finalists are looking forward to the opportunity to become a part of Vestavia Hills school community. One of the challenges that we have before us right now is the short tenure of superintendents. So I would say to you, I have spent quite a bit of time talking to these candidates about how important it is, their willingness to come here and be here for an extended period of time in working with this board instead of someone that's going to come here, be here 3 years and gone. And so we were very blunt with those candidates about that. Another thing I need to say to you is that I will present these candidates to you in alphabetical order. And the reason I do that is when I make presentations, oftentimes people think, well, that's their first choice, that's their second choice, here's who they rated number 3. By doing it this way, it's alphabetical order and there's no preferences said about anyone. Your first candidate is Dr. Ronnie Dotson. Dr. Dotson presently serves as superintendent of the Carter County School District in Grayson, Kentucky. He has served in that position since July of 2011, and his contract runs through June of 2019. I would say to you, at the end, part of what I'm going to give you is the actual application of each person, so all this information you will have in those forms. He previously served as an elementary school principal for 15 years in the Pike County School System in Belfry, Kentucky. During his tenure for that 740 student elementary school, they were recognized as a national elementary blue ribbon school, National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence. Prior to that, he served as a teacher in Pike County System for 9 years. During his tenure in Carter County School System, they advanced from the bottom 5% of the districts in Kentucky to a district of distinction with scores in the 90 percentiles. They also increased the percent of seniors graduating college and career ready from 27% to 98%. He has administered over $40 million in construction. He's active in professional and community organization. He brings 29 years of service to public schools. Dr. Dotson received his doctorate degree from Morehead State University in Educational Leadership in 2016. Received his master's degree from Morehead State in Education in 1990. He also received his bachelor's degree from Lee University in education in 1988. Dr. Dotson has been described to us and perceived as a collaborative and servant leader. Your second candidate, and as I said, these are just brief summaries that we'll go over. Your second candidate is Dr. Michael Todd Freeman. Dr. Freeman presently serves as superintendent of Sylacauga City School District in Sylacauga, Alabama. He has served in that position since July of 2013. He previously served as principal of Auburn High School, a school of 1,600 students in grades 10 through 12 in the Auburn City Schools. Under his leadership, the scholarship funds earned by graduating seniors tripled. He nurtured the academic program for all students, including advanced placement and international baccalaureate programs. He also increased the percentage of students who met college readiness benchmarks on all ACT subject areas. Prior to that position, he served as Executive Director of Operations and Administrative Services for 7 years. He directed, planned, and provided oversight of new construction and facility improvements. He collaborated with school personnel, school officials, architects, engineers, and contractors. He also served as a district hearing officer for cases involving attendance, residency, homeless, child nutrition, and discipline. Prior to that, he taught grades 9 through 12 social studies with a special emphasis on U.S. history. He also served as department chair and coached football and baseball. He was named the Auburn City Schools Foundation Teacher of the Year for Auburn High School in 2003. Dr. Freeman received his doctorate degree from Valdosta State University in Education Leadership 2008. He received his master's degree from Auburn University in Secondary Social Science in 1994. He received his bachelor's degree from Jacksonville State University in Secondary Social Science in 1992. In his career, Dr. Freeman has directly administered over $75 million worth of construction and renovation projects. He also received an 83% approval rate on a recent tax initiative in Sylacauga. 83% is pretty good in any category. He has a reputation of being a collective leadership style, internally and externally, and he has 24 years of experience. He and his wife have 2 children, one age 4 and one age 2. He stated to me that his goal would be for his children to graduate from Vestavia Hills High School if he is fortunate enough to be selected. He is also very active in professional and community organizations in Sylacauga. Your third candidate is Dr. Patrick Martin. Dr. Martin presently serves as superintendent of Gardendale City Schools, Gardendale, Alabama, from 2014 to present. He is leading that system in their effort to establish a separate city system from Jefferson County. Previously, he served as superintendent of the Washington District 50 schools in Washington, Illinois, 2010 to 2014. Prior to that, he served as superintendent of Illini Central CUSD number 189 in Mason City, Illinois, 2008 to 2010. Prior to that, he served as assistant superintendent, high school principal, and middle school principal in that same district. Prior to that, he served as principal of Illini Central High School in Mason City, Illinois. He previously served as teacher of social science, athletic director at Lexington High School in Lexington, Illinois. And prior to that, he served as social science teacher at Lexington High School. According to a Gardendale board member, Dr. Martin has conducted himself with the highest degree of integrity and professionalism. He is highly involved in the community, and his work ethic is second to none. He maintains a high degree of positivity and always chooses to see the glass as half full rather than half empty. He has experience in Illinois in school construction and renovation projects, school realignment, and strategic planning. Dr. Martin's wife serves as the associate head women's basketball coach at the University of Alabama at Birmingham. As a sitting superintendent for nearly a decade, he has worked to increase curricular offerings, be an exceptional steward of taxpayer dollars, and a good communicator for his community. He believes that the Board of Education system staff are familiar with community members' need a shared vision to provide education opportunities for students. He stated that he would enroll his 3 children in Vestavia Hills schools if selected. Dr. Martin received his doctorate degree in Education Administration, Illinois State University, 2012, received his Chief School Business Officials degree in Education Administration from Illinois State University, 2010, received his Education Specialist degree, Education Administration from Illinois State University, 2007, received his Master's degree in Science and Educational Administration from Illinois State University, 2003, and received his Bachelor's degree in Science, Secondary Social Science, Illinois State University, 2000. Your 4th candidate is Dr. Sean Whiteman. Dr. Whiteman presently serves as superintendent of the Maryville Public Schools in Maryville, Michigan. He has served in this position since 2014, and the contract is effective till June 2021. He previously served as principal of the Roseville Community Schools in Roseville, Michigan, 2005 to 2014. He led a diverse elementary school of 637 students and middle school of 784 students. Prior to that, he served as instructional specialist for Detroit Public Schools from 2001 to 2005. Previously, he served as a Title I coordinator in the same system from 1998 to 2001. From 1995 to 98, he served as a teacher in the Detroit Public Schools. Dr. Whiteman has 23 years of progressive educational experience. He presently oversees 2,800 students and 462 staff members with an annual operating budget in excess of $30 million. He has led an increase in SAT test scores and graduation rates, 94.8%. The Maryville High School was awarded the silver medal status in 2017 by the U.S. News and World Report for Best High Schools ranking. As a financial steward, Dr. Whiteman has increased the district's general fund equity. He has increased advanced placement offerings, and he is knowledgeable in managing school facility issues, including growing enrollment, grade structure, construction, and effective use of existing facilities. Dr. Whiteman received his doctorate degree in curriculum and instruction, K-12, from Wayne State University in Detroit, Michigan, 2011. Received his education specialist in general administration and supervision, K-12. Wayne State University in 2000. Received his Master of Arts in Teaching in Elementary Education, pre-K through 6 at Saginaw Valley State University in University Center, Michigan, 1998. And he received his Bachelor of Science at Kalamazoo, Michigan, 1994. That was at Western Michigan University. The one candidate who withdrew had excellent credentials, but with the decision that's been made, he is pulled from the list to present to you at this time. Are there any immediate questions? Let me say, as we go through, and of course, Mr. Boone's here to help. I caution you, nepotism issues, don't think you got conflict from what I've seen, hadn't noticed anything, but I always caution that we make sure we look at those things. The candidates I'll give you the paperwork. We'll go through and you can select the candidates for interview. I think these have your names on them. If you want to pass those down, look for your name on the cover. Those are the applications from all of the candidates. And these are the materials we need to go over and look at.
Dr. Dinkins, the feedback that we got from the community and stakeholders was we wanted them to be a sitting superintendent, we wanted them to be on a principal board, we wanted them to have their doctorate, and all 4 candidates check all those 3 boxes.
Yes, sir. And so did the 5th. But, and there's several others that were in the list that met those criteria too. What we did is we looked at the criteria that was set forth, trying to pick the ones that best met what you were looking for. And included in your packet, I was very pleased when you were able to move up your dates for interviews. The candidates were excited about that. You have in your packet an interview guide that you'll find in there. The interview guide is just something to sort of help you establish things to do and things not to do. You got to be careful about age discrimination. I mean, all those things, you have to be careful about those kind of things. There's one separate sheet that's entitled Interview Gaffes. Just read over that before you do that. We included also, when you do your interviews, if you want a scoring system that you use as a board, there's a sample scoring sheet in there that a lot of boards use. When you check references, any of them that you want to check, we've included a form that you can use for those. And as I suggested to you early on in the process, we strongly recommend that when you get down to 1 or 2 that you're comfortable with. You know, sometimes when we do this, we have one candidate just sort of blows everybody away, and everybody knows that's who they want. Frequently, it's down to 2 or down to 3. We provide and suggest to you that if you get down to like 2, go visit where they work. Check out, ask questions, talk to those folks. It won't take you long to figure out whether they want you to go home and leave their person alone, that they want to keep that person there, or you can put them in the car and take them with you when you go. People are pretty honest with you about that. We also have in there superintendent interview questions. And I talked a little bit with Dr. Mason. It's important that we're able to compare apples to apples. So what I have said to the candidates is that the board will select the questions. These are sample questions that other boards have used. They usually go through and pick out about 12 or 15 questions that they're going to use for their interviews. If you want to throw this away and have your own, that's whatever you want to do. But I have said to the candidates that you will provide them copies of the questions before they get here. And the reason we always do that, if I come for an interview and I'm the first interview, Pat's coming, he's the 3rd or 4th interview. He's going to know every question before he gets here, where when I came in the door, I didn't. So what we started several years ago that has worked real well, we provide those copies to them before they get here. They can give you their best answers. But you always have the right as a board to ask spin-off questions. You know, when somebody makes a comment, makes you think something, you can have spin-off questions that brings to your attention. Several of these candidates are real concerned about process for interviews. And what I have said to them is, typically when we do searches, the board brings them in, somebody may take them to breakfast, they tour, somebody may take them to lunch, they tour schools, talk to people, whatever the board wants them to do, have a social event in the afternoon where people from the Vestavia can come in and talk to them and meet them and share, and then have your formal interview. One of the things, you requested a national search. One of the things that's always very interesting to me when we do national searches, people from outside the state of Alabama don't understand why the interview has to be public, but the law says it will be public. In fact, I had one person that I talked with in the process, they're not one of the finalists, but he said to me, "You mean there's no way I can come and meet with the board and be interviewed without being open to the..." I said, "Not in Alabama. That's not possible." And so many other states do it different than we do, but that's what the law requires us to do here. These are the private cell numbers of the candidate. They're expecting a call from you this evening. They are excited about you calling them this evening.
Good.
Are there questions you have for me?
So have you told the others that they're not getting a call from Nancy?
We've told some, we will follow up with the others. I wanted to tell you too, this candidate is in a meeting with the attorneys, and he said when you call, if he doesn't answer immediately, as soon as he can get away from the attorneys, he will call you back.
Dr. Jenkins, is 32 candidates kind of normal for what y'all see, or is that a lot or a little, or
It's
looking for perspective kind of compared to other searches?
usually we get between 25 to 40 to 45 occasionally. I mean, it's like when we did Huntsville, we had 70 something. But Huntsville got a lot of really national applicants, of which there was a significant portion didn't even fit what they were looking for. I think the bottom line that you measure it by is what are the quality of the applicants you got? Because really and truly, from your perspective, you don't need but one. And it's a matter of, of who you get. We had some really good quality people in this pool. Dr. Mason can tell you he and I spent a lot of time on the phone recruiting people that we thought in the end, we had a couple that were just really strong too, that they would have had to buy too many years in the state they are in to leave to come. And we don't really want to get into all of those kinds of things. These are people that looking forward to being here and be a part of it and bring their families here. And so, from my understanding, some of them have already visited your community. Some of them are coming to visit your community before the interview. So, that says a lot. You actually ended up with 2 in-state sitting superintendents and 2 out-of-state. The original 5 we were bringing to you were 3 out-of-state and 2 in-state. Other question?
If for some reason these 4, we can't jive with them on this, do you go back to the existing pool?
I go back to the existing pool, work through that, plus I get on the phone and make calls to people to see if they have any real interest. One of the things that I have to be careful of, I do contract work for the School Boards Association. Members of the school systems throughout this state, their board members are members of the Alabama Association of School Boards. Sally makes it quite clear she does not want me stealing other people's superintendents. And sort of the way I deal with that is I just call and say, do you know Vestavia has a vacancy? If you have questions, I'll answer. But, you know, I have to sort of walk that fine line. But, yeah, there are people in other states that we know that have been in previous searches that we can reach out to. Sometimes it's just a matter of timing. What is an appropriate time in their family and what they're doing? You know, if you've got somebody who's on the very front end or early end of the contract, they don't want to leave. But, you know, particularly the pool that we're seeing that's starting to get stronger is that pool that they're in their early 50s. They've worked 25 years or so in another state and want to work till they're 65. The advantage you gain there, we've probably placed 3 or 4 of those in the last couple of years here. The advantage, you get an experienced superintendent who walks in the door, who's been there and already understands the job. And they're going to work for another 10 years. And usually they don't want to move again. That's pretty much it. So.
Dr. Jenkins, did you say you had mentioned to each of the candidates our proposed time frame for the interviews and that worked with their schedules?
I told them around, it had been moved to around January 3rd, 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th, 9th, those dates.
Yeah.
And so those are the dates I've shared with them at this point. They were very happy to move it back from where it originally was. And we get into this thing. There are other systems out there looking for superintendents too. And so, like I said, had we been 2-3 weeks earlier, we probably would not have lost candidate in these.
Those exact dates are January 4th, 5th, 8th, and 9th. And the reception and interview will be held at Cobb Heights Elementary in the new gym. A chance for us to show that off. Appreciate Ms. Hunsberger hosting us for that. And they'll begin at 4 p.m. Reception will be approximately 30 minutes. Then the board interview approximately 90 minutes. So there'll be a email message going out to all employees and all parents tomorrow summarizing Dr. Jenkins' presentation and giving the information about the interview schedule. If I could, I'd just like to make a couple of comments. At the board's request, I had the opportunity to meet with Dr. Jenkins and the other 2 people in his search team last week in Montgomery. And I just wanted to say how impressed I was with all the advanced work that they had done on the candidates when we convened to take a look at the candidates and recommend finalists. Extensive background checks, extensive reference checks, extensive Googling. They have a designated Googler on that team, and she appears to be quite good at that. And I just came away very confident that we had the information that we needed to do that review. So my compliments to Dr. Jenkins and to his team. And I think I only have met 2 of the candidates so far. I look forward to meeting the other 2. I think you're going to have your work cut out for you, which is the way I think you said you wanted it to be. And I think that's a good thing. And at this point, I'll be helping with the logistics. Otherwise, you're at it, as should be the case. So.
If during this process anything comes up that I can help you with, don't hesitate to call. Whether I have to go through something at ASB or if it's something I can do or that I can do with Dr. Mason, ball's in your court. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yes, sir. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Oh, we'll pass it back to you.
Were you the
Thank
fifth
you.
finalist?
But to your question, when I retired, when the search firm came back, the search firm told our board, we didn't have enough applicants, that they needed to come in to stay. I just said, so 13.
That says 13.
We're down to the financial statement.
Yeah.
I recommend the board approve the financial statement for November of 2017. Mr. Maynard?
Information in your packet is for November. At this point, local revenues have just started to come in. We're at 8.53% of budget. Last year we were at 8% of budget at this point. I am happy to say that this week so far, 6.6 million has come in local ad valorem, so that's a good start to the month of December. And hopefully it will stay that way all month and into January and February. Expenditures are 18% of budget. Last year they were at 16% of budget. We have had some items that we have paid for early on in the year that we didn't have last year. One of them was an intervention program for about $105,000, and there have been a few other items like that that have come in. Having said that, there will be a budget amendment presented at the January board meeting. We're required to do a budget amendment in January, and I'll be bringing you, right now, it looks like some technology issues for that budget, other than just us budgeting the final federal programs numbers. And all the board bank accounts have been reconciled at this point. One other thing, audit work finished up. They are back working on the draft and anything else that comes up after they finish their field work. There is an extra step this year. We're still hoping to have it by the February board meeting, but there's a new peer review procedure that they're going through where it goes through one more review step before the final document's ready.
All right. You've heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the financial statement for November. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The consent items tonight consist of several out-of-state or overnight trip requests and one request to dispose property at Liberty Park Elementary School.
You've heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve out-of-state overnight trips and property disposals as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second?
Any discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
First item under business is a recommendation that I'm pleased to make regarding school restructuring. As you know, this is a conversation that we've been having in the community for several weeks now, which succeeds a conversation that you had in the community several months ago. And as I think everyone here is well aware, that the reason that conversation was reopened was because of the potential purchase of Gresham Elementary School. So again, you know what's happened the last few weeks, several rounds of community meetings, online surveys, opportunities for the community to be engaged and be informed. So tonight I'm pleased to recommend what I believe is a plan for the restructuring of our schools that will better meet the needs of our students in terms of academics, extracurricular activities, and one that matches up with what we know about the developmental needs of students at the various ages as they move through our school system. In just a moment, Whit McGee is going to share with you the responses that we got from the survey, but just to go ahead and get on the record about what my recommendation is, I'll be recommending that Vestavia Hills High School be a school of 10th through 12th grade, just as it was in the plan that was adopted by the board back in April. that our ninth graders have their needs addressed at a ninth grade center, which will be located at what is currently Pizzitz Middle School. Our two middle schools will continue to be 6 through 8 middle schools, with the current Pizzitz Middle School moving to what is the former Berry Middle School campus, larger facility and one that can accommodate their growth. All of our elementary schools will be kindergarten through 5th grade schools, with the new school on this side of 280 being located at what is currently Gresham Elementary School. So that's the recommendation that I'm making to you tonight, and I think the next thing I'd like to do is to ask Whit to share with you the results of the most recent survey that we conducted to get community input on this issue. So.
Over the last week, we've received what I would consider to be excellent and very thoughtful responses to our survey following Dr. Mason's restructuring recommendation. All of our surveys and all of our community engagement has started with this question: would the acquisition of Gresham make possible a revised facilities plan that would be preferable to the plan adopted by the board in April? Over the past week, 581 people participated in our online survey. 83% of respondents indicated they were parents of current students, and all schools were represented by the survey respondents. 13% of respondents were employees, and 2% were students. This is in addition to the 2,361 responses we received during the first community engagement survey that we conducted during the month of November. In that survey, we posted all 3 options that were up for consideration at that time. We asked respondents to provide their own pros and cons for each option, and to ask us any questions that they had about each option. And we posted answers to those surveys and the new pros and cons we received on our website and in both surveys. So in the survey over the last week, we presented the board-adopted plan and the alternate plan side by side, and we asked respondents to share the reasons why they preferred one plan over the other. We reviewed all of the individual responses to the survey, and here's what we found as the most frequently cited reasons for supporting the board-adopted plan. Transportation is more convenient for Liberty Park families. This plan limits the number of school transitions to 3 campuses instead of 4. And some skepticism exists about the success of a 9th grade center. Those who supported the alternate plan gave the following reasons. A 9th grade center provides better opportunities and support for 9th graders. This plan ensures parity of academic and extracurricular experiences for all 9th graders. It ensures effective use of the Gresham campus. And it maintains the current structure and age grouping in the middle schools. I'd also like to note in my own review of the responses that the cost savings of the alternate plan, while significant, was not a major reason that the supporters cited as to why they were supporting that plan. So while we made a point to say that this survey was not a referendum, we did ask respondents to give us their preference, to state their preference. And so out of 581 total surveys completed, 83% of the respondents said they preferred the alternate plan. 17% chose the existing board-adopted plan, and there was not an option on this survey to choose other or none or no preference. Now, when we filtered the results by school, we also found that a majority of respondents at every school preferred the alternate plan. And as you just saw there, the school that was the most supportive of this plan was Vestavia Hills High School. 95% of the respondents who said they had children at the high school right now said they preferred the alternate plan. Employees who took the survey almost unanimously said they preferred the alternate plan. And I'd also like to note that all of the students who took the survey said they preferred the alternate plan as well. Of course, this was all part of one step in our process that we stated from the beginning: inform, engage, listen, and decide. And I feel that we've been very successful in that endeavor. If you have any questions about the survey or specific analysis of the results, I'd be happy to address those this time. Thank you.
And I would just say that, as the board members know, all the board members were provided all of the information of every single comment that was made by anyone on this most recent survey. So I won't check to see if you did your homework, because I think on the alternate plan there are 400 and something comments to read through, but that was made available to the board members.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the alternate plan for restructuring as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right. Let's have some discussion now. As we said, we are so pleased with the results of the survey, that so many people submitted a survey, and if I had to guess, I would think most everybody in this room did submit a survey, and we thank you for that. The comments were very thoughtful and informed, and really let us know just how engaged all our stakeholders are, which is very important to us. And this gave us some good and meaningful guidance as we considered the options. You know, one of the main comments that I noticed in support of the alternate plan was having a unified 9th grade. There just are so many people that are very, very interested in having that 9th grade come together and bond as a grade before they get to the high school. And so, you know, that seems to be an important issue, along with leadership and managing social pressures that come in the 9th grade. And of course, as we said, the consistent academic experience. And then also the proximity to the high school was mentioned a good bit as well, which is a good advantage of this plan. I wanted to just address a couple of the concerns that we read, and one of those has to do with the condition of the Gresham campus, and we understand that. If you go right by it, I'm not overly impressed with the way it looks. But on the inside, there's significant investment by the county to keep those facilities renovated and in good shape, and the classrooms are very nice. They're large, they're well appointed. The cafeteria is in very good shape, and so we're confident that with a plan we have, we could renovate that school and make it something that would be everybody be proud of. It'd be a great facility. We also heard concerns about the transition for students in the system, and we know that's an issue, and we'll just plan to carefully consider the options for that and try to minimize the disruption to the students and their families. That'll have to be worked on as we go along. So those are kind of some of my thoughts. Board members, any thoughts?
I'll talk. So I actually did read through all the comments, and Nancy, I was really, really impressed with just the thoughtfulness, and you could really tell the passion that was coming through in a lot of the comments. And the sense that I really got was there's still a lot of concerns about logistics, and and those will be worked out. But it seemed that there was a sense that people were willing to tackle that problem for the end result. And the other thing I have to say is that in the spring, I don't know that I was a big fan of, let me rephrase that, I wasn't totally sold on the 9th grade option, and the more I've heard about it, and not just heard about it in terms of what people think, yay, nay, that it'll be good or bad, but just in talking to some of the administrators and some of the teachers and seeing how excited they are about some of the things that they can do with that group of kids to just kind of bridge the different areas of Vestavia and send them on to the high school as kind of a unified, prepared group. I mean, it was really neat to have those interactions and learn along the way about the process. So I really am so thankful for everybody that attended the forums and completed the surveys, and I know that the community's had a lot of surveys to complete, but I really enjoyed reading through all the comments and just was excited to see that there seems to be a majority plan that people want. So.
I like the fact that we preserve I feel like we do middle school well. And we kind of had the modified junior high program before, and this allows us to preserve the way that we've traditionally done middle school and just do it at a different location. So I think that's good. And then as a parent of a freshman, I think that having her in a place where she wasn't walking the crowded halls with her big backpack would have been much preferable. And then Steve, you remember this, some of the old school Vestavia people contacted me and said they remembered when we were at the Zits that we could check out and we would just walk en masse up to the high school to watch the Zits football team play on Thursdays or whatever. So, the close proximity was something that, we walked up to watch back in the good old days. So, I think by and large it allows us to preserve what we do really well with middle school, allows us to solve the problem of taking students out of the high school and freeing up capacity, and then also allows us to address that parity, quality of instruction being the same and exact, precise in the ninth grade campus.
Well, I think one thing it addresses, one thing we heard before, if you went 6th through 9th grade in 2 different schools, one of the big concerns that we got from parents was a 6th grader with a 9th grader. And then we're dealing with 2 different facilities, and these gentlemen over here are trying to figure out how to separate 8th and 9th grade from, so it's just, logistics anywhere, any physical location is tough. It allows us to do more with less at Berry campus now, more at Gresham. Tyler's going to, at least for a year, going to get a little breathing room at the high school until the bigger classes come in, and just logistics. Just like David's talking about, you're talking logistics and our resources being our teachers, and everybody wants the same thing. A single 9th grade allows that to happen. We can concentrate fully on the 9th graders there and all the other children at the other schools too. And then you've got athletics, band, the arts. I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff. And, Tyler and the rest of y'all have been very good. We appreciate everything, the thought you put into it. Your work's really about to begin now to try to figure out how to connect all the dots and make it work. And Dr. Mason, I want to thank Dr. Mason for just the way that he and Nancy and the board has handled the process here. It's been very open. It's been very engaging. They've asked for the professionals' opinions, and we've gotten it. And they've engaged the community multiple times in multiple forums. And like everybody said, the community's been very engaged. We know the passion for our schools here is top notch. So, I just want to thank Dr. Mason for the way he's handled this.
I think Mason's waiting for me to speak now. I like the third idea. Neither of those. I think the alternate idea is the logical one now. As most people know, although from reading some of the responses, not everyone knows, that Gresham was not available to us when we started this process last time. So this came up subsequent to that decision-making process. And by virtue of location, the fact that we are landlocked in Vestavia, by virtue of the fact that the enrollment at all our schools continues to grow, it was a no-brainer for us to go after it, and I think it's a no-brainer for us to utilize it as an elementary school, because that's the way it's currently set up and it costs too much to create some other type of campus. For those of you who have been to it, you know that The classrooms are really large elementary school size. Some of the ceilings are very low. David and I were sort of having fun, sort of tapping the ceiling tiles, and I can only imagine if you had middle schoolers or high schoolers there, that every ceiling tile would be destroyed. Because it's made for little people in certain spaces, which is strange, but it's functional. And I think that the idea of having the single ninth grade campus at Pizitz is logical, given that we now have the space and the infrastructure, proximity to the high school. And there are going to be lots of challenges. I've heard from lots of parents who are concerned about busing for extracurricular activities, the idea of having another school in their morning or afternoon commute. Yes, all that's true, but given the cards and the alternatives that we have, this is the best idea, so I support it.
All right. We ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
First of all, thank you. I would just want to be sure everybody understands, this is not one of those recommendations that I'm making because it was the least bad alternative. This is a recommendation I feel really good about. I think this is a great plan for meeting the needs of our students for a long time to come. It's not just a way to break them up so they'll fit into buildings. I think we know K-5 works because it's been successful at 2 of our schools for a very long time. As you said, we know middle school works because we've been doing that well for a long time. And as we've gotten into this, I've become more and more convinced that the ninth grade center is not just a way to relieve overcrowding at the high school. It's something that if we do it well, and this school system will really be a great experience for ninth graders to help them make that transition to high school. High academic expectations, consistent with the high school, but in a setting that's absolutely committed to their success. So thank you. I think you've made a great decision for the students, not just now, but for the next several years in this community. And I'll have 2 grandchildren coming through this, and I'm excited about what this will mean for them. Just a couple of things about, so now what? Tomorrow, I believe it is, never to be presumptuous about the board's decision on anything. I'm waiting until tomorrow to do this, but tomorrow I'll be sending out 2 invitations to 2 different groups. One to a planning group that I'll be convening to look at the ninth grade center. That process will start right after we get back from the holidays. To go ahead and start now trying to identify, as you all said, every single issue or question that we can think of that will need to be addressed over the next 18 months in order to have an orderly and successful opening of that school. And then I'll be sending out another request for a different planning team to take a look at all the issues related to transitioning to K through 5 schools. So we're going to jump on it right after the holidays and go ahead and get started. And we certainly won't finish it by the time the new superintendent takes office, but I think we will be in a position to say, here's a start. Here's every single issue that we can think of that needs to be addressed. Here's roughly the timeline in which those need to be addressed, whether it's naming the school, which I know for some people is like, they want us to do that now, to things like staggered starting times and all those many, many things. The great news is you're making this decision 18 months before it goes into effect. And with the human capital in the school system and in this community, there is no doubt in my mind that that will be managed and managed well. And, as a citizen / grandparent / interested observer, I may request permission to come observe the ninth grade center and at least 1 K-5 school on the first day of school in 2019. So
Permission granted.
I hope you'll let me do that. So again, we're going to get right on it and get going because time is of the essence. 18 months sounds like a long time, but our CFO reminds me, hey, if it has budgetary implications, we need to know sooner rather than later. So we just got to work through all those things and make it happen in an orderly way. The next item on the agenda is one more opportunity for the board to say that you really, really, really do want to buy Gresham. I'm not sure how many times this is at least number 5, I think, opportunity for you to say that. As you know, in a call meeting earlier, the board approved the draft contract for the purchase of Gresham. The Jefferson County Board now has approved that with some amendments that their attorney suggested to them. Those amendments are reflected in the document you have in front of you. So this is basically just, again, hopefully one final time, approving the actual contract for the purchase of the property. I'd like to ask Mr. Boone just to describe for you how this contract differs from the one that you passed or that you approved earlier.
I'd be glad to. Dr. Mason and I talked to the county board attorney today by telephone. The differences in the contract that I initially drafted and the revisions made by Whit Cobbin are these. One, I had the closing date for the closing of the sale to be within 15 days after the expiration of the approval date. They wanted to back it up to 30 days. I didn't see any significance with that because they're going to be in possession of the property through the end of the 18-19 school year. The possession delivery date, I had it at the last day of the 18-19 school year, which is not really practical, and they backed it up to June 15, 2019. They wanted to, this sale is contingent upon two events. One, approval by the Federal District Court, which county boards handle, and two, the annexation of the property to the city of Vestavia Hills. Whit wanted to change the language a little bit relative to the part about approval for the Federal District Court, which is fine. Dr. Mason and I offered our help today. He thinks we can help get that process done. We're ready, willing, and able to do it. The last change was a little bit change in the language. We don't want to buy the property unless it's annexed. They don't want to sell, they don't want to annex the property and the sale not close. So what Whit and I decided on, the effective date of the annexation, which will be done by the city of Vestavia Hills, is the date of closing, which is perfectly reasonable. Both parties are satisfied with that. I'd be glad to answer any questions, but I recommend the contract as written to you.
And I would just say, Mayor, first of all, thank you for being here today. We're glad to have you. And I spoke with the city manager on Monday of this week just to give him a heads up about we're headed your way with an annexation request, and we'll let you know the exact date of that as soon as we know.
Mr. Boone, we did a different type of annexation on Berry. What was different around the way we had to kind of do that one versus this one?
At the city of Vestavia Hills annexes all properties two different ways. One is a process that takes 180 days, and the other is a process that the city council enacts an ordinance, you post the ordinance, and the ordinance is effective 5 days later. The long method can take you the property all the way to the corporate boundaries of another city. I don't know of any other land close to, I think all the land surrounding Gresham is probably Vestavia. So what we call the overnight method is going to work perfectly, but just to be on the safe side, we do it both ways in every case. We got sued about 30 years ago on that question by the Rocky Ridge Fire District. But anyway, that's a different story. But
so if there was another city's property abutting the Gresham property, we would have to do it that other way.
Well, the short way can only take you to the 50-yard line, which is a line equidistant between the corporate boundary of the other municipality and the corporate boundary of the property.
Which is why we did those little chunks on there.
And last time, the city did a series of annexations, 1, 2, 3, 4, because we could only go to the 50-yard line, and it needed to be done quickly, and it was done, I think, in about 4 annexations.
Okay.
Annexation, from a legal standpoint, will not be anything difficult to do, from a legal standpoint.
And just to thank you for being here, and we're not being presumptuous about how you all will vote on the annexation. We're just simply saying we're coming your way. No, you can't collude. No, so. So, yes, I recommend approval of the revised purchase agreement for the Gresham property.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the revised agreement for purchase and sale of real estate as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve? And second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
We, through Whit Colvin, the attorney for Jefferson County, we've made it clear, if he's asked, to the federal judge that we're very respectful of her role in this, and we know that all of this is contingent on her ruling, and that we're proceeding with parallel planning just to meet our deadlines. So, in all of this, we stipulate that we understand that this is contingent on the federal court's decision. But again, if we're going to be moving into our new structure in August of 2019, we need to press ahead with planning, which at some point can go no farther until the judge has ruled. So we're certainly not being presumptuous about her discretion on these next couple of items, but they are things that we need to get moving on. So now that the board's approved the school restructuring and approved the contract for the purchase of the property, the next item is to award a contract for the due diligence inspection of the Gresham property. This is part of the contract, and this is just what it says it is. It's just due diligence to get a professional inspection of that property to be sure there aren't any hidden issues that would cause problems for us later on. And Brendan from HPM, would you just briefly describe how you got these two quotes and your assessment of those?
So we solicited quotes from Latham Associates Architects and Goodwin Mills and Cable to get 2 different proposals on the site due diligence, building due diligence that looked at all mechanical, electrical, plumbing systems, general usability of the site, expandability, general overall assessment of finishes, any potential upgrades that would be needed, and the 2 quotes you have in front of you were provided by both firms, with Latham Associates being considerably lower than Goodwin Mills and Kaywood's proposal.
So my recommendation is that we award this contract to Latham Associates to conduct the due diligence inspection of the Gresham property.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the contract with Latham and Associates to perform the due diligence inspection of the Gresham property. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Is there any discussion?
And so Brennan, you looked at the scope of both, and they're consistent, the difference just is the price.
Scope-wise.
Okay.
And we did ask a few follow-up questions to make sure they were identical.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Also, in the spirit of leaning forward, we're prepared to make a recommendation on the site work and demolition package for the former Berry Middle School campus.
The Mason Middle School?
Only if he buys the naming rights.
Yeah, with a large contribution, so.
You could auction.
Just with a large contract.
I'm going to ask Brennan again just to frame this up for us.
Okay. This is a early demolition package that includes demolition of, I think in the building assessment, Building G, which is the existing old gym and band room, some upper and lower levels below those facilities, but it's an old metal building that's dilapidated that we are demoing as part of this package. Also site grading for this new building pad, new building additions. That does include building back a band and choral room, as well as we did have in this package a building pad grading for a ninth grade addition to go ahead and stay on track, on schedule, assuming a ninth grade addition would be built. It also includes grading for future parking areas, future drives around the rear of the building, site utilities, storm utilities, to get us ahead of the game and ready for a building package to commence as soon as the site demo package is ready and the design for the building package is completed.
So it's that old Butler building, basically it showed up against the, yeah.
It is. So we budgeted and estimated this about the bid to come in just under 1.2. It came in, I think the low bid's around $970,000. So it's under what we thought it would be, and it looks like a good bid. We've talked with the contractor, T.E. Stevens, and they have confirmed the bid and are good with moving forward with the contract.
And so like you said too, that also accomplishes one of the, I know talking to several of the fine arts teachers that possess that they enjoy their facilities, and this would be a place to give them similar facilities at the Berry campus. Correct?
Yes, that's correct.
That is the standard that we used in the design
Excellent.
of the small addition at Berry, which would provide those facilities. Brendan, there were some strike-throughs on the actual contract. Could you just clarify what those, if you don't have a copy with you?
I don't have a copy, and I haven't.
Is that attachment?
Yeah, it was under general
Attachment.
conditions of the contract. You need to take a look at it. I mean, I think the assumption is that the board's acting on the things that were not struck through.
Yeah, this looks like an attachment that's to the general conditions. This is standard, typical in every construction contract. If you look at any one you've entered in your previous contract with any general contractor, this is a supplement the state issued where it's just acknowledging to get the general contractor to acknowledge that these are struck through and these are the changes to their standard general conditions of the contract.
Okay. Can the board help out with demo day?
You want a demo day t-shirt?
Hey, if you got some built up stress, well, come join us.
That's a good idea.
You gonna put shiplap in our in our new band and choral room?
Okay, did you make a recommendation?
So my recommendation is approval of this contract for the site demolition package for Berry Middle School property.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the contract with T.E. Stevens as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And second?
Second.
All right, any other discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item is a recommended contract with Jeff Coat and Associates for some work on boiler repairs at Vestavia Hills High School. Craig, you want to comment on that? Or?
Yeah, the issue is the venting for the boilers has deteriorated over years, so new vents need to be installed for the boilers, and that's what this contract's for. And it will make sure that the boilers pass state boiler inspections.
This is why my daughter wears a sweatshirt to class. Yeah, everything. Okay.
All right, you have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the contract with Jeff Coat and Associates as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve? Second. All right, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is a recommendation to add a business finance course to the curriculum for Vestavia Hills High School effective next school year. I'll ask Mike Donaldson, our career education director, to comment on that, please.
Currently, we have, this would fall under the finance pathway. Currently, we teach 3 classes in that pathway. We have personal finance, we have accounting, and we have honors accounting. By adding this course, it would just provide more opportunity for our students and allow them to more easily become CP concentrators or completers. And that course, I think, is for the next year, that would be taught by Steve Johnson, I think. Questions?
I did. You have heard the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the business finance course as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
The next item is similar to one you've had previously, where one of our schools is renting or using someone else's facility, and more of these facilities are requiring both that we show proof of insurance and that the board actually goes on record as requesting that usage. So this is for the use of Shades Mountain Baptist Church by Pizzett's Middle School for a choir concert.
You have heard the superintendent's recommendation. The board approve the choir concert at Shades Mountain Baptist Church as submitted. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Any questions, discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Updates.
Yep.
Yes.
My updates will be brief. We've been here for a while. Those of you who have complained about previous board meetings being too short and not substantive enough, hopefully this is this has met your needs for the foreseeable future. So I will be brief, but just a couple of comments, kind of tying together the process that we've been through on school restructuring and the upcoming interviews and receptions with superintendent finalists. I could not be more proud of the community in terms of the way they've engaged in this process, considering school restructuring, both in terms of attendance at meetings, response online, and as several of you mentioned, just the thoughtfulness of the hundreds of comments that we got about this final stage of the discussion. So I think that we need to take note of that and celebrate that given information and an appropriate way to work through these issues that come up from time to time. This community has shown that it can do that in a very civil and constructive way, and I think that's something to celebrate. That kind of ties in with the next step in the superintendent search process, and so this is, if we had a pulpit other than that one, this is probably when I would step up to it. So I'm going to preach just a little bit here, and you just have to excuse me. But I think we all can understand that these superintendent candidates are going to be trying to sell themselves to the board as the best choice. I would just like to remind everyone in the community that this is also our opportunity to sell our community to them, to make them, even more than they do right now, really want to come here and be your superintendent. So as people attend the receptions and interact with the candidates, I would just invite every single person to be an ambassador for Vestavia Hills, and know that that process works both ways. They're representing themselves to us, but we're representing ourselves to them too. So help us do that in such a way that we're going to have 4 people that are going to be fighting to the death to get this job, because they see it as being such a great place to live and to work, and in some cases raise their children. So amen. That's it.
Well, thank you, Dr. Mason, for all your hard work. I think your thoughtful planning and openness have really made all this go very smoothly, and we appreciate your hard work.
I would just add, yeah, Dr. Mason signed on to this deal as an interim superintendent, and I think most interim superintendents probably don't expect to take on as much as he has in the last few months and in the next couple of months. So I do want to thank him for his guidance, his leadership, his counsel, and being a punching bag for me personally on some of these issues, because he's done a fantastic job. I think we should recognize that.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a good sport. Sure.
I've enjoyed it. The board told me initially this would just be a caretaker position.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are multiple definitions.
That's that selling.
Okay, our last order of business will be to invite public comments. We ask that you please limit your comments to agenda items, that you come to the podium and state your name and address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes if possible. Do we have any public comments this evening? Ms. Cook?
I will make this very brief, but I just wanted to thank this board and to thank Dr. Mason again for the very open and transparent way that you conducted this solicitation of public input and the way that you considered it, and it's very much appreciated. So I just wanted to say thank you for the community.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, there being no further business to come before this board, we stand adjourned.